Welcome Yamhill County to Speaking Frankly. I'm your host, Howie Harkema, and our tagline is, "And how we doing?" Today, my guest is the Executive Director of McMinnville Habitat for Humanity, Mary Stern.
Howie, how you doing?
I be fine. How be you?
Great. Glad to be here.
We're so glad you're here. So we're going to talk about a number of things today. Let's start with McMinnville Habitat for Humanity was formed in what year?
1991.
Wow.
Right, so it's been over a quarter of a century.
Oh my goodness, 26 years.
Yep.
Fantastic.
It's terrific. It is. It's great.
So what was the involvement of Jimmy Carter and Rosalynn Carter?
It's funny, I had to look it up because I thought that Jimmy Carter was one of the founders.
So did I.
But he was not. It was Millard Fuller who founded Habitat in 1976, and it wasn't until 1984 that Jimmy Carter was still president then,
Right.
and he was their most high-profile supporter, and he brought them lots of publicity and did fundraising and also did construction projects for them, and that started the Jimmy Carter let me see what it was called, Jimmy Carter Work Project. And after 25 years, they renamed it to the Jimmy and Rosalynn Carter Work Project because she used to go with him.
Of course.
Every year they built all over the country, all over the world. And when they renamed it in 2008, they were down after Hurricane Katrina rebuilding them. So it's and they keep doing it. I tried to get them to come here this summer, but they're going to Canada instead.
Wow. So is Habitat a nonprofit organization?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely.
So what is the local Mac Habitat vision and mission statement, Mary?
So our mission is to bring people together to build homes, community, and hope. And we have a vision of a community without poverty housing. So that's
And
that's
boy,
what we
is it
strive.
needed.
Oh, you're not kidding.
Oh, my
you're not,
goodness.
You well know. You know, housing is such a huge issue, and there are so many levels on the spectrum, from homelessness and folks who need, shelter,
Right.
overnight shelter, and transitional housing, affordable rental units, and then home ownership at the other end of the spectrum.
So how is Habitat funded here locally?
So locally, through donations from our donors, cash donations, donations of goods or services for our construction site, folks like Washington Roofing, who have donated every single roof for every home, every one of the 55 homes that we've built so far.
That's unbelievable.
Isn't it? It's amazing. The Restore, money that's raised at the Restore, we use that to pay overhead, and hopefully that the intent is that will cover the entire cost of our administration, and then every donation will then be used for construction. And then also we're the bank for most of our loans, that our families pay their mortgages, zero interest, to us, and then we use those dollars to reinvest in new houses.
That's incredible. So do you have any upcoming fundraisers?
We do. We always have upcoming fundraisers.
Of course you do.
We actually have one on Saturday night, the 22nd of April. It's called A Bowl Full of Hope, and that's a fundraiser for our Women Build project, which is our latest project, co-chaired by Patty Hadeland and Tenley Hart, two wonderful local women. We have several wonderful, fabulous women in the community who are part of that committee. And this fundraiser, we have bowls that were created by the students at the Delphian School. They made the bowls, and we will be serving soup that's been donated. Nick's Italian Cafe, I know that, Minestrone. Tina's in Dundee is donating soup, and the McMinnville High School Culinary Arts Program as well. And so we have different soup, different donations of breads, Red Fox, desserts, and it's at Elizabeth Chambers Cellars. They're donating some wine as well, and the space location, and it's just going to be a lovely event. We only have a couple spots left,
And it's invitation only, but
Well, yeah, we still have a few spots, so if anyone is interested, they can call the office and or get in touch with me or anybody at our office, and we'll be happy to set you up.
Paul, could you bring up their phone, please, the banner for their phone? Let's talk about run, walk, ride for a moment.
We have to say that slowly.
Yes, one walk wide.
One walk wide. It comes out funny. So that is in June. That's one of our annual fundraisers. We have a 5K and 10K run and walk, and then a 28-mile bicycle ride. And this year we have another new location. We're going to be out at the Falls Event Center. It's the old chapel out
right.
at Evergreen, and the Falls Event Center has donated the use of that facility, as well as they have a 5K track there. So we'll be doing the races, the walk and the run on the track there, and then the bicyclists will leave from there as well.
Paul, could you bring up that banner? That graphic, that's the first graphic in the queue for run, walk, ride.
So that will be June 17th, and
Right.
8:30 a.m. it starts. We'll have information on our website, and you'll be able to register on the website. As soon as we get through this latest fundraiser, we'll
Hard to do multiple at the same
It
time
is.
because people get confused.
Yes, yeah, it is.
And we will bring up your website information as
Great.
well.
Thank you.
So let's go to the next one, Paul. Eclipse Viewing Brunch.
Oh, yes.
Mary,
Look at
those.
Look at those glasses. Aren't they fabulous?
Fabulous.
Oh, I couldn't see a thing with them, but that's okay. They are wonderful, and we are going to take advantage of being in the perfect location to see the eclipse this year, and we will be out at May Sarah Vineyard. Again, they're donating their facility to us.
Isn't that fantastic?
Oh, it's so fabulous, and we hope to have someone there who'll talk a little bit about the eclipse and what that means
Yes.
scientifically, not too scientific, but and we'll have those beautiful glasses which were donated to us by the Great American Eclipse Company. People are so generous to us. But anyway, that is going to be a fundraiser for our Veterans Build, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well.
Yes, very good. So everybody's excited about this eclipse.
Oh, it's huge.
It is huge.
Yes.
And people have already pre-booked their hotels and motels.
Right.
And boy, if they didn't, they have no chance.
Did you just hear that the state of Oregon opened up 1,000 new spots, camping spots,
No.
yesterday, and it sold out in almost as little time as the eclipse is going to be here.
Oh, goodness.
So, right, people are going to be flocking. We are really in a special area.
Boy, and we live in a special area to begin
Anyway,
with.
right.
So, how many homes has Mac Habitat built now?
We have completed 55 homes. And we have another one that will be dedicated a month from today on May 20th, and then there's another one under construction. So out at Aspire, out at the development which is in McMinnville, we have 6 homes built, and then 2 more, the other 2 under construction. So we've just been building around the periphery, because we're trying to get the road in to access all 34 lots, so the remaining 26 lots will be off of Turner Way, named after Bernie Turner, our founder, and so that's very exciting. We had hoped that the road would have been done in October, but you may remember in October it started raining and it really hasn't stopped, so we haven't been able to pave.
It probably won't until June.
Oh,
unfortunately.
Yes.
But at that subdivision, you have actually 34 lots planned.
Correct. Right. There will be, I believe there are 7 sets of duplexes.
Okay.
And then the rest will be single-family
That's
homes.
fantastic.
It really is. It's amazing.
So have people moved into some of those houses that are completed?
Yes. Oh, yes. So there are 5 families that are in there already. Oh, actually 6 families with the Garcia family was our last family last month. And then we'll have the 2 additional families. One, the Camposanos will be moving in May, and then Jennifer Crane is our women build house, and she and her family will be moving in hopefully by the end of August, before school starts.
That's fantastic. And you were talking about some recent home dedications. Talk about the Garcia family.
Oh, this family is so amazing. Francisco has been working on this house and other houses out there for 2 years. They were selected about 2 years ago, and he immediately went to work on the homes out there, and he's been just such a wonderful man. Our homeowners have to complete 250 hours of sweat equity,
right,
and he finished that probably a year ago and continued going. And so at the dedication, the work crew, so we have a construction crew out there, the regular crew, that is there every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday from 8 o'clock till 2 or 3 o'clock, depending on the day. And they wanted to give Francisco his own tool belt because he just earned it. I mean, he
way
was out
beyond
there.
earned it.
Oh, yes, yeah. And so they moved in March 4th, and 2 weeks later, we were out there for the Women Build kickoff on Jennifer Crane's house, and there was Francisco out volunteering, and he said, and my family said, "What, you already finished? We finished our house." And he said, "That doesn't matter, I'm still building." So he was out there again.
He must love it.
He does love it, and I think he's learned skills, and this is the thing about Aspire that's so wonderful. Most of these homeowners are going to have worked on each other's homes, so they really are literally and figuratively building a community, and it's wonderful.
And the rapport of working together over that length of time must be fantastic.
Yeah.
It truly does make a community.
It does. It does. It's wonderful.
So, when was Habitat Restore opened?
I had to look that one up as well.
I don't know either.
All right. So it was in March of 2004. And actually, it's funny, I was on the board of directors at that time. I was a county commissioner then and was on the board, and Erin Stevenson was I think she was the director at that point in time. So they started in 2004, and Steve Long, our Restore manager, gave me the background that Darrell King was the original starter of the Restore, and he went around and collected goods all over the city. And then we had a little location that they would store them in. I think it's where the storefront is now.
Okay.
And they would store them there, and when they got enough, they would open for a day, a month. And that was in March 2004. And then by October, they could open 2 days a month.
Whoa.
Yes, yes. And then in April of 2005, they hired their first Restore director. And July of 2005, it went open 4 days a week. And now we're open 5 days a week, and so we just had that little storefront there, and then we leased the lot, the parcels next door, and so expanded, and
now you have a warehouse area actually too.
We do. Not a lot of storage,
no,
but we get so much that comes through. People are so incredibly generous. So, we take buildings.
This is Yamhill County.
I know, we know, right? We know firsthand how generous people are here. It's just incredible. But building supplies, furniture, appliances, there's so many different things. And now we're even we're expanding what we're taking. Now, we've been working with MacHub.
Yes.
And so now we are just starting our own causal hub, they call it. So instead of us, we would get a lot of goods that we really couldn't sell in the Restore. So we would bring them over to MacHub, and then we would get a percentage of that. So now when we have items, we're processing them ourselves with the Swede Mom Center of Giving software that MacHub uses, and the wonderful Cami Nyquist. And we are doing it on our own so that we end up getting more of the proceeds, and it's just an easier, smoother transition. So we're expanding. We've taken our old conference room, which we hardly used, and we're turning that into our little hub area. And so maybe now we'll take even more things at the Restore.
Well, I knew that that you have some things that you can't take too.
Right, like mattresses. We're not allowed to take mattresses. And sometimes we take things that or we have to stop taking things when we have too many of an item and it's just not selling. So we the list sometimes changes. There are certain things that we won't take, but if like non-working refrigerators, well, we can't.
What would you
take
do
them.
with it?
Right, we'd have to pay to dispose of it, and that we're trying to raise money to build houses, so we're not able to do that.
So what hours and days is the Restore open?
The Restore is open Tuesday through Saturday from 9 to 5.
Very good.
Yeah. And occasionally we will close the receiving area, and we'll put up a notice on that because we just get overwhelmed with stuff at time and then need to sort through and process the things quicker.
Sure. So do you need Restore volunteers?
We always need volunteers, particularly in the Restore. And there are shifts that you could work a 4-hour shift once a week, once a month. It could be from 9 to 1 or 1 to 5. You could work as a cashier. You could help set up rooms and arrange furniture. You could work in the receiving area. There are just so many opportunities with the Restore.
Is there any clerical work for those that might not be able to do the standings?
Yes, there's, and actually in the office, we are always looking for volunteers there as well to help us with clerical, keep update of our donors and the donations that come through the Restore, help us with our volunteer hours, recording all of those, putting them into a system, helping us with events and mailings and things like that. And then
Perfect.
Of course, there are always the volunteers at the construction site. We always...
Right, we're going to come to
Yeah.
that here in just a minute. I need to ask you about something that's coming up that's really important here. So, upcoming family selection process for 3 families. I assume this is at Aspire.
Yes, it is. Yes, and this really is thrilling. So this will be my first family selection process. And we have a great committee that we've put together with some long-serving members and then some new folks who have come together and that are helping us with this process. We have Laura Fritz, who was,
She's
I believe,
awesome.
the first family services coordinator. She was an AmeriCorps volunteer.
Right.
And now works for McMinnville PD, but she is chairing our family selection committee, and this woman knows what she's doing, so that's very exciting. But we're starting the process, and starting on Sunday, we are going to have an orientation session for people who are interested in applying for our homes. So that will be at the Housing Authority on Sunday, April 23rd. 2 p.m. we'll have a class in English, and at 3:30 one in Spanish. And then on Thursday, the 27th of April, at 6 p.m. there'll be a class in English and 7:30 a class in Spanish. And all of those classes at the Housing Authority will run through the opportunities for housing with Habitat, and also talk about community home builders, another avenue where if folks don't fit into our program, they may fit into that. So
Right.
anyone interested in home ownership can come to these classes, and we'll have our volunteers there, and Britt, our fabulous bookkeeper and mortgage writer, will be there, and we'll help people through and learn about the process.
So could you talk about the application information that you need to derive from?
Well, how about if I tell you about the criteria
Sure,
and
yeah.
how people qualify?
Right.
So there are 3 criteria. So the first is you have to have a need for better housing.
Right.
And whether it's you're living in substandard housing with mold or lack of heat, or if it's just very crowded, or you're living in a garage or a basement, or your family's spare room, you have a husband and wife and 3 children squished in there.
Right.
Then that would be a need. Also, if you're spending more than 30% of your income on housing costs, that shows that there's a need as well for better housing. So there's that need, and the second will be the ability to pay. So no more than 30% of your income can be spent on housing, which would be your mortgage payment, your property taxes, homeowners insurance, and out at Aspire we have a homeowners association because of that
Sure.
subdivision there. So there are some fees associated with that. So your monthly payment could be no more than 30% of your income. And there's also the average median income of Yamhill County. So our applicants have to fall somewhere between 40 and 65% of the area median income. And those numbers changed based upon the number of people in a family.
Sure.
So in Yamhill County, the area median income for a family of 4 is $73,000.
Okay.
So if you're between 40 and 65% of that, then you would meet our financial ability to pay there.
If they were already on Section 8, would that also apply?
Usually those folks, would determine a need, so
Right.
that's good. So that's, would say, yes, that means that you have a need for better housing, so we'd be able to look at you. And then the last criteria is the willingness to partner with Habitat.
Right.
So our families, if it's a one adult family, then they have to put in 250 hours of sweat equity. 2 adult family, it's 500 hours, 250 each. And a portion of that can be done by friends or family. A portion of that is spent in classrooms, learning
Right.
about how to manage your finances, how to budget, how to save, how to shop on a budget, how to cook on a budget, how to make home repairs, learning about wills and things like that. So
Right.
it's a great program. All of those hours count towards your sweat equity.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it is.
So how many hours does Doug Cruikshank have
Oh my
involved
goodness.
in all of this?
Oh my goodness.
Because I just love him, and I just see him everywhere.
Isn't he? He's like our poster boy. He is just the best. He's on vacation right now, so we had a volunteer appreciation dinner last night, and he was unable to be there. But he would have been standing at the very end where we asked for people, everyone stood, and then you sat down as we kind of, anyone with 50 hours or below sit. We got to 500 hours. If you have 500 hours and above, and there were 2 men standing, and Doug would have been the third. I mean, they are just incredible. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday out there, and we just have some great men and women who, they put their heart and soul and their blood and sweat and tears.
And their compassion.
Their compassion. And the best thing, about this job, I think, and about volunteering here, is to be able to come to a dedication and to turn the keys. Doug, at the last one, turned the keys over to Francisco and his family. And as Francisco told us the next day, our lives changed that night. Everything was different,
Yes.
For the better. It was just an incredible experience. And when you think, with that family, we're breaking the cycle of poverty.
Exactly.
For generations to come. And it may seem, people say, oh, it's just one family at a time. But it's much, much more than that. It's one family, and then it's their families and their families. And it's just an incredible feeling to be a part of that.
Well, it's when you say that, it makes me think about everything is one family or one person at a time to bring them out of the cycle of the past.
Right.
So,
It is. Yeah.
So it had to have blown Doug away to be able to hand
do that.
the
Yeah.
Garcias their keys.
Yeah, it's very special.
So I know I don't need to ask this, but does Mac Habitat need volunteers?
Oh. We always need because people are so generous with their goods. The restore gets so, crowded, and we always need help processing things through, and people working in the restore. And, as we earn more money, we're building more houses, we need more volunteers out there. And as we have more events, we need more people in the office to help us run those events and to do the paperwork.
Of course you
So
do.
We always could use volunteers.
That's fantastic.
And we appreciate our volunteers, too.
Boy, and I saw that you had an appreciation dinner here recently,
Yes, we
too.
did last night.
So talk about the construction build workshop.
Well, we have not started one specifically yet, but we're putting that together, particularly as we're in this women build period.
Right.
And it's not just for women who build a house. Anyone can come out, but it's really, the Women Build was started by Habitat International to empower women and to really encourage them and nurture them and get them engaged and advocate for housing for women and children. So we actually have a wonderful volunteer who we're trying to set up a program so that when we get groups out on Saturdays normally, we'll be able to give a few little skills. Here's the right way to hold a hammer and nail the nail with the hammer. They were making fun of me when I was out there saying, I'm like a cobbler with a little nail, tap, 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 tap. No, you have to hold it down at the end of the hammer and whack it hard. Well, of course, you have to hit the nail. That's part of the problem with me, but yeah. But it's, just a little, and then the more you do it, you get used to it. So it's really to help people learn how to use a saw, learn how to paint appropriately.
That's fantastic, because a lot of people, even this day and age, don't know.
Right. It's
drill motors and this and saws and all of it. So
and we want our volunteers to really get something out of their experience. We want them to feel like they are contributing and doing something great.
So not only do they learn a new skill, but they actually get to do the work.
Oh, yes.
And that's the fun part.
It is. And there's no job too small. Even if it's cleaning up nails that have been bent and don't make it, that's important. It's important to get those out of there, and to, whether we're putting bark dust down or we're doing, whatever it is.
Right.
We need people to help us.
So talk about local partnerships.
Oh boy, there are so many. I think so. I mentioned community home builders, and how we are always referring each other, families back and forth. You don't really fit our criteria, or we're not selecting any families right now, so you might check over with community home builders and they do the same.
Right.
We work very closely with the Housing Authority, and they actually will be helping us teach some of the classes that our families must attend. YCAP, and they have a program that they're working with veterans as well. So with our veteran build, which will be one of the next 3 houses.
Fantastic.
We're hoping that we will have a veteran and his or her family in one of those houses. Veteran Build was started really to encourage veterans to get involved in volunteering, and really to help them reassimilate back to the community.
Right.
There were statistics that 75% of returned veterans would like to be more involved, but nobody's invited them to volunteer. So we are engaging veterans that way, and through the local Yamhill County Veteran Services Office.
Jerry Wilson.
With Jerry Wilson. He is just a dapper man, isn't he?
He is.
And then with the American Legion, and they have been such a great partner with us. They're right across from Aspire.
Right.
Our core construction crew, they eat lunch over there every day. I mean, we love them. When we have events, they let us park in their lot. They're wonderful, wonderful neighbors. So it's a great partnership.
So one last question. You have about a minute. What makes your day doing this work?
Well, 2 things I'll say.
Yeah.
The volunteers. The fact that people are willing to come and give of their time, their energy, their heart, their money, they of themselves. They give of themselves to make this organization work, and to do it for another family that at the beginning they don't even know who they are. And it's just amazing to see that generosity of spirit, which, as we mentioned, is McMinnville. That's number 2. It's just being able to work back in this community after working in Salem for 2 years.
And we missed you.
Oh, and I missed being here. And just to be able to be involved here again and to witness everything that's going. There's so many organizations and so many people and so many businesses doing such great work that it just touches your heart. And we live in the best place in the world.
Yes, and we have the best Main Street in America.
Yes, we do. Maybe it's a little rainy, but the sun will come out.
It always comes back out somewhere around July.
Yeah, that's right. It will. It will be back.
So thank you, Mary, so much for being on today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So happy to be with you.
Thank you.